It's not exactly a secret that Chomsky's been going goober mode with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. Chomsky's had bad foreign policy takes in the past. Like, for instance, like the slow to react in the Khmer Rouge stuff, and I've disagreed with stuff and like the Bosnian genocide, you know. But in the past, I've always kind of like given him a bit of like leeway with those mistakes, in large part because a lot of the mistakes that he used to make were made back before information was as readily available as it is today. Having bad foreign policy takes back in the day when your easiest news source is getting like American newspapers to describe a conflict to you is very different from like today, where you can like, if the Khmer Rouge stuff happened today, like you'd be able to see videos of it on TikTok in 3 hours. I mean, like it like it's the things are much faster now, so I'm willing, I think, like a little bit of leeway in retrospect. But this is making me reconsider that because we do have the internet, though I'm not sure if he knows about that. Thanks, Twitter. Much appreciated. I'm not sure if he's caught on to that quite yet. Here he is doing with an interview with goddamn Russell Brand. Yeah, I know. YouTube clickbait conspiracy master. Well, I mean, you can see the quotes being spoiled for you right there on top, but I mean, we can listen to the thing. Yeah.
The United States today, it is living under a kind of totalitarian culture which has never existed in my lifetime and is much worse in many ways than the Soviet Union before Gorbachev. Go back to the 1970s.
Okay. So right off the bat, I want to be I want to talk about context, okay? So Chomsky is a really really smart guy. He's very very smart, which is why it's puzzling to me why he would make really stupid arguments. So this is the same guy who doesn't like to use the term genocide to describe stuff that everybody else will call a genocide, because he thinks that the word is overused, you know, so he likes to like play it down, you know, like, oh, well, this, you know, the Bosnia, yeah, you know. I have no idea why he would use the word totalitarianism to describe the United States when he has shared his lifetime with the duration of the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. That is very weird to me. Don't get me wrong, I think there are tons of authoritarian elements to American governance and American culture. The use of the term totalitarian here is like indefensible, especially for a person who tends to be pretty non-sensationalist with his language. I don't get that. And I don't know why he would say in his lifetime, when totalitarian dictatorships are pretty much only a feature of the period of history during which he's been alive. Like, totalitarianism wasn't a thing back in the 19th century, you know? That it wasn't really around in the way that we think of it today. He's been around for pretty much, you know, pretty much most of the 20th century, so, yeah. No, guys, I am fully aware that his brain is melting due to age. I'm fully aware of that, but I'm still going to try to respond to the stuff that he's saying here. I mean, again, like, dude's very smart. One of the most cited researchers ever in all of everything. Like, he's not, you know, we're not talking about a YouTuber here. Also, so he's made the claim here that there are elements of America that are more totalitarian than the Soviet Union was pre-Gorbachev. I mean, there are things that America does that are authoritarian that the Soviet Union didn't do, but I think on aggregate, America is pretty inarguably more free than the Soviet Union, you know? Like, it's one of those things where, like, well, yeah, the Soviet Union ended in the 80s, so, like, there are forms of authoritarian governance that wouldn't have even existed back then that America does today. But, you know, if you average it out... Anyway, let's just continue. So, yeah, 91. Isn't that what he means? Well, if that's what he means, then it's a meaningless statement, because that statement could be made of any government that exists now. If you're like, well, the ex-modern country has authoritarian elements to its governance that wouldn't have even been done in Nazi Germany, and what he means is, like, internet log history recording, like, okay, that is true. They didn't have internet in Nazi Germany, so I guess, like, every government in that respect is more authoritarian than Nazi Germany, but it's not a very useful statement, isn't it? And doesn't it come off as a little bit sensationalist? Again, like, I'll hold him to that because this guy has staked his reputation on avoiding sensationalism when it comes to certain types of political, descriptions and arguments. And yeah.
People in Soviet Russia could access BBC, Voice of America, German television, if they wanted to find out the news. If today in the United States...
This is not uniformly true. The Soviet government absolutely did not allow the unrestricted access to Western news. That's just not true at all. In fact, isn't it the case that one of the reasons why Estonia is known for its film is because it was part of the Soviet bloc, but it was close enough to pick up television signals from the West? Because of where it is. So there are like famous directors from Estonia who would get, like, when they were kids, they would get TV signals like illegally picked up from neighboring Scandinavian countries. Yeah, that was like a whole thing. Now, the Soviet Union is a big country, and it did change its rules quite a bit. I'm sure there were points in time where some elements of Western media were accessible, but for a good point in time, like, the only goods you could get from the West were illegally, and the media you'd have to get from them would have to be done illegally. Like, they engaged in, like, very direct and overt censorship. The entire reason why things like Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty existed was to distribute Western propaganda because Western media was inaccessible. Yeah. So this is, like, kind of a factually incorrect statement from Chomsky, which is, again, weird. I don't know why you would have to lie about how, like, the average Soviet citizen could just easily access the British broadcasting network.
You want to find out what Prime Minister Lavrov of Russia is saying. Can't do it. It's barred. Americans are not permitted to hear what Russians are saying.
And then he goes on to suggest that it's illegal for Americans to hear about things happening in Russia. Yeah, he's the foreign minister, for one. And for two, we can access all that information. Like he's just making that up. I don't understand. The most you could say is that, like, Western media doesn't pay that much attention to it. Like, we don't cover it that much, but I'd say that's a pretty far cry from it literally being illegal to access, like it was in the Soviet Union with Western media. It's just really dishonest. Like, you can just... Is it because we kicked out RT? We didn't kick out RT. DirecTV ended their television contract with RT, and RT left. That's not government censorship. That's RT is, like, broadcasting pro-war propaganda in a war that we're not taking their side on. They left because they didn't want to keep seeking out, like, avenues for local distribution. You know? Europe did censor RT? Yeah, Europe did censor RT. But that's not the same as censoring info. You can still see what the Russian foreign minister is saying. Like, even if you accept that premise. And by the way, I think that censoring RT is justifiable under the context. It's literally like state-run propaganda that's dedicating its massive media apparatus to justifying the slaughter of Ukrainian citizens. You know, as like the tiers of acceptable censorship go, we're pretty far up there on that one. But that doesn't mean we can't see what's going on in Russia. You can still see what all their political leaders are saying. Russian media is accessible to us. We have a right to see it. We're capable of seeing it. RT maintains, its facilities that we can, Western citizens can access if they want. And that information is replicated across dozens of, different channels. Whether it's TV or internet or radio, there's a way to find out what's going on in Russia. The Soviet Union literally kept its citizens from accessing. Guys, the average Soviet citizen was nowhere near as wealthy as the average American citizen was, in terms of, like, access to luxury goods. They never caught up to us in that respect. Why the hell would the Soviet government want Soviet citizens to watch media showing American citizens being wealthier than them? Don't get me wrong, not to say Western media was honest in its portrayal. You know, they would ignore the people of color and the poor and what have you. But, like, yeah, of course they censor that. Yeah. Russia can literally charge and imprison you today for sharing Bellingcat articles. Yeah, right now, Russia currently has an internet censorship law. that was originally used to censor stuff like child abuse material, pirating stuff like that, and is now extended to stuff that's critical of the government. In fact, there was literally like a lawsuit thrown against the Kremlin from the some European conglomerate about how they were using the provisions in that law to censor like any dissent within Russia against Putin.
Can't get Russian television, can't access Russian sources. That means
we can do that. We can do that though.
Also that fine American journalists like Chris Hedges, one of the best, is cut out, barred from Americans because he happens to have a program running on RT, Russian television. You want to
what does he mean cut out, barred from Americans? What does he mean by that? Who knows? Yeah, like what is he referring to? If he has a program on RT and RT is no longer broadcasting in America, then obviously that program would no longer broadcast in America. Yeah, he's hosted the television program On Contact for RT America from 2016 to 2022, and then RT America shut down. So what? So in what way is he shut out? I'm looking on his Wikipedia page right now. I don't see anything about him being like censored or whatever. Hedges, in collaboration with the Real News Network, began production in April 2022 for a web series called The Chris Hedges Report. Nonprofit based in Baltimore. Wait, he's right now operating as an agent of media in a company in Baltimore, founded in Toronto. What? How is he shut out? He had a program on RT America, and then RT America shut down. And now how is he shut out? What does that mean? Okay.
find out what the adversary.
Like, this is frustrating. This isn't just a difference in perspective. The man is just lying. Like, what are you supposed to say to stuff like this? This guy is like a legendary academic. What is happening here? What is this? It's not like he's a clout chaser. Chomsky can't be doing this for clout. He has more clout than God. He's the leftist academic. I have no, why? He's just senile? I don't think it's just he's senile. I don't really think that it's age or brain damage, because this is like just a worse version of behavior that he's engaged in before. I don't know if this is some kind of leftist trauma where the fall of the Soviet Union made like lefties so perma anti-American that they're adopting the America bad first strategy of foreign policy analysis. I don't know if it's malice or whatever. I have no idea. Yeah. Is it just the same like tanky America bad brain damage on this guy? Are you sure? He seems to actually not know how media proliferation works. I can't second guess his intelligence. Maybe his brain has melted because of age, but I can't second guess his intelligence. Yeah, I know he's old, chat. Thank you for the reminder.
Is saying, which is of utmost importance. You can maybe tune into Indian state television and find it out, or you can read it on Al Jazeera. But the United States has imposed constraints on freedom of access to information, which are astonishing.
So what is he referring to here? So first of all, when it comes to like legal censorship done through the state, Russia outpaces us massively. But even like that's an objective fact. But like, what are we is it just because RT America shut down because DirecTV no longer wanted to work with them because they were defending a war of aggression? He's implying the US government pushed out RT through private company pressure. If that's the case, that's still nowhere near, like, that's the unprecedented authoritarian measure we're talking about. Like, the state government. RT not being available in America does not deny us access to any information. I would actually argue that having less RT in the world is a net benefit for information, because RT spreads misinformation. RT is a state-run media platform that is completely controlled by an authoritarian government that is currently waging a war of aggression. They don't produce information. I don't really care. I don't care about RT being censored. I don't even consider that to be a loss of information, you know? You know, as far can you imagine like leftist academics gallivanting about like this during World War II? Like, the American government is not allowing the Reichstag to broadcast. You know, the Nazi channels are censored here. We're not allowed to see. Like, what are you talking about? And then to say this is an unprecedentedly authoritarian measure without even being able to define or specify what he's referring to, does he literally just mean RT America not partnering with DirecTV anymore? That's it? That's literally it? That's the whole thing? Yeah, you can go on RT, like the website, if you want. It's on YouTube. It's on the internet. The American government doesn't really block access to websites that it doesn't want you to go to. It's not Iran. It's not Russia. It's not China. We don't have the Great Firewall. If you want to go over to rt.ru or whatever, you can go look at it. It's right there. You can go look. It's not hidden from you.
Now, which in fact go beyond what was the case in post-Stalin Soviet Russia.
Like what? Like what is what? Like he is literally comparing a period of time during which if you expressed dissent against the government, they could black bag you and send you to gulags in post-Stalin Soviet Russia. To what? To RT America shutting down? What? Yeah, like, this is insane. This is also incredibly dangerous, by the way. Russell Brand is a very prominent, like, far-right conspiracy bait YouTuber, and this gives him so much prominence and so much legitimacy. Noam Chomsky was, like, a guy I respected so much. You know, and he's written a lot of really good stuff, but, like, I have no idea what this is. This is absolutely wild. I'm not sure that happened post-Stalin. I'm pretty sure post-Stalin they still would do, like, political hits, right? Not nowhere near as much as under Stalin. I think they still did some under Stalin. Either way, even post-Stalin, the Soviet Union was far more authoritarian. He's not far-right. Yeah, he is. Russell Brand is absolutely far-right. He's the same kind of far-right that Joe Rogan is. The difference is, I think Joe Rogan actually, on average, is more left-leaning. Like, Russell Brand is the perfect outflank from the right type guy, like, in image, where he can say that he's all about, like, freedom and, like, healthcare and all that shit, but everything that he says and does promotes, like, right-wing conspiracy theories. Like, all of it. It's all anti-vax stuff. It's all, like, Dark Brandon controlling the world. All liberal media. You can see right here, you knew something wasn't right. Guys, look at all the media apparatuses up there. Wall Street Journal, MSNBC, Sky, NPR, BBC, CNN. What's missing? It's the right-wing media. It's not showing the right-wing media. It's the left-wing media. They're coming for you. Here's something, don't be fooled with a pride image. Here's a big pharma thing. Here's him mucking on Biden. Breaking news, can't believe this just happened. There's Hillary Clinton. This is why Trump won. Here's Jimmy Dore being promoted. Like, the Roe v. Wade, we need the truth about gas price hikes. Oh, so this is what they're up to about. Like, again, this is like a very, very common grift. Like, Tucker Carlson literally does this, which, by the way, this is epic. Tucker Carlson, Jimmy Dore, right up here. Well, they'll be like, yeah, we like the working class is being screwed by, like, you know, the elite, and American families need relief. And that's why we need to end immigration, you know? I care about freedom and workers' rights, and that's why I'm anti-vax, you know? I think that, you know, the proletariat should rise up, which is why I'm endorsing Trump. Like, it's the same thing every time. It's the same grift. Seriously, look at all of these thumbnails. Here's CDC. Here's AOC and Biden. Here's a spooky Google thing. There's Pelosi. Jan 6. They don't want you to know this. I mean, like, look at this. COVID lab leak. While you're all distracted by Russia, you know, this is like alt-right shit, basically. Yeah, Jimmy Dore does the same stuff with his thumbnails. And Jimmy Dore is also far-right. What do they not want you to know about Jan 6? Whatever you think about events on Jan 6, are the current hearings just an excuse for more political theater? Whoa. If you look in the comments down here, you're going to see all of the same, like, enlightened centrist bullshit, but all of it always is in aid of the right. Remember, if you're playing enlightened centrism between the right and the left, you're benefiting the right. You know, if you're equating the left and the right, it's to the benefit of the right. If you're saying they're equally damaging, it's to the benefit of the right. Because the right is the damaging one, you know? It's like you can't walk into Auschwitz and be like, well, it seems like honestly everyone here was kind of mean, you know? Like you can't do that. Like you know, it's just alt-right pipeline entryism. It begins Trudeau something something Pfizer vaccines censorship. What the Queen doesn't want you to know. Davos. The real reason we locked down more Pfizer. This is a joke. Yeah, it's all pretty much the same. And now this guy has agreeing with Noam Chomsky, or Noam Chomsky agreeing with him, to add to the pile of legitimacy to his larger than Steven Crowder channel. Yeah. Davos, that's literally some Alex Jones shit. Yeah. It's right-wing conspiracy mixed with New Age brain rot. Hey guys, did you know that belief in horoscopes corresponds positively with fascism? It's true. New Age brain rot has always been far right-leaning. It just has the aesthetics of left-leaning groups, which is why people have given it a pass for so long. But if you think of like where you see New Age bullshit crop up the most, it's like spirit science type shit, right? Like really weird off the bat, like conspiracy bullshit. But it always comes back to the same basic underlying truths, you know, that they try to hit on. And it's usually there is a real world and real experience that we are all being denied because an elite group of ultra powerful bankers are controlling everything. And they're using the occult and their control of the financial system and their control of the political system to distract you from the truth and blah. It's anti-material analysis. It's pure conspiracy bait. And there's a reason why conspiracies are generally the domain of the right, because they appeal towards intuition. They appeal to like gut instinct feelings towards politics, which are great for fascists, by the way. And it tends to drive people towards insanely irrational conclusions. A materialist analysis of any major left-leaning issue would find all these videos like jokes, you know? Absolute jokers. Yeah, conspiracy theories provide easy answers to difficult problems. They also tend to lean heavily on essentialism because conspiracy theories need, like, cartoonishly evil villains. Have you ever wondered why, like, people on the right, like when they talk about the left, they talk like the degree of like essential evil they ascribe is like really weird. Everything has to be like Saturday morning cartoon villain evil for them. Because it's the level of simplicity they're comfortable with. There have to be good guys and bad guys, and everything is collapsing, but it will be fixed as long as these changes are made or these steps are taken. And then everything will be fine forever. Don't we do the same? No. All of my negative ascriptions of others are based on material analysis, individual ethical ascriptions. Frankly, the fact that I have the self-control to not declare every Republican in this country ontologically evil is a testament to my material analysis skills. Like, they're so evil. They're so, you know, it's so bad what they push for. You know, but it's ultimately based in an ethical. I mean, you do that? No, I don't. Pretty sure you have done that at least once. No, then you've misheard. How many times have I explicitly said I don't think that all Republicans are, like, explicitly morally bad? They misheard? It's good to remind people. Now, the politicians they elect, that's a different story. You've told us they want us dead, though? Okay, wait, sorry. There's a difference between Republicans, the voter base, and Republicans, the politicians. Republicans, the politicians, absolutely want you dead and are evil and demons in human skin. Probably about a third of the voters are too. But even then, I've pointed out that this is a non-essentialist characteristic, have I not? How many times have I said in this channel, you know, even if people are Nazis or whatever, like everyone is just a combination of the values they hold, and anyone's positions on anything can be changed. Maybe not all of them all the time, but any of them potentially. But conspiracism doesn't allow for that. Some in chat are following a DGG or narrative saying you're pushing the U.S. towards a civil war. That's okay. It is the prerogative of liberals to bury their heads in the sand and line their necks up for the teeth of wolves. What's happening is fairly obvious. You would have to be retarded to not see it. If people want to, you know, make light of the things that are happening and the plans that are being made, that's their prerogative. This is an extremely dangerous set of ideas to promote for Noam Chomsky. I'm extremely disappointed in him. An article saying Republicans are debating to bend the knee to evangelical funding or stick to their voter demo. The voters will follow no matter what. It's weird. It's weird because Chomsky was like really based on the vaccine shit. I think it's just like America bad brain rot. Yeah, it's pretty bad. The most dignified thing that he could do at this point is like die. I have no respect for people who will engage in apologia for like wars of aggression. You know, I'll just wait on that. He can redeem himself in his final days. But yeah, he's made his contributions. He can get out of the way now. Time to finish the aging process. He could retire. He'll never retire. He's 93. He still responds to emails through a proxy. I don't think he's a tanky. No, he's not a tanky at all. He's an anarchist. He does have that America bad brain rot, though, which seems to have... it's an ideological fault that he shares with tankies. Isn't that ageist? I love being ageist. Gonna out myself as dumb. I've been here less than a week. Oh, hi. I thought you honestly made the argument that being conservative was inherently evil, but I guess I've been missing sarcasm. Conservatism is evil. Being a conservative does not make you an inherently malicious person, though. Not everyone who's conservative is conservative because they're looking to hurt you. There are people who are conservative because they think it will legitimately benefit some elements of our governance or make the country better or whatever. There are, however, people who on an ideological level want you dead. There's a big difference between a person, for example, who's in favor of broken windows policing because they legitimately think it'll reduce crime, and people who are in favor of broken windows policing because they know that it will disproportionately harm black people. Think of the architects of the drug war, Nixon and the Nixon administration. They knew damn well that it was going to disproportionately harm the left and people of color, and that's why they did it, as far as we can tell. Now, I would consider that to be an ideologically evil, a malicious action, to start a drug war and pour tens of billions of dollars into a policing effort with the explicit intention of hurting like the black community and so on. But not everyone who supports the drug war because they want those things. I'd be willing to bet most people who support the drug war do so because they just think drugs are bad and harmful and they just want them off the streets. They know that drugs lead to, people's lives being ruined, so they want drugs gone, so they support the drug war. Now, the actions, the actual consequences of their behavior might be the same regardless of their intentions, but their intentions are critical when it comes to changing their mind and understanding where their political positions might be led after that. The goal of modern-day far-right conservatives is to move their constituency over from supporting bad policy because they are misled into thinking it'll be good, into supporting bad policy because they want to hurt the right people. They want to move Republicans over, the average Republican, from opposing trans ideology because it hurts people, to opposing trans ideology because trans people are degenerates who need to die. That's the difference right there. It's the same fundamental set of prescriptions, but the reasons why they're supported are critical. Because people who are only anti-trans ideology because they think it's child abuse or whatever aren't inherently going to support the death camps. People who think that trans ideology leads to people being degenerates and degeneracy is a social contagion will support the death camps. Where they are on that step is critical. You understand what I'm saying, right? And none of this is essentialist. Even the worst people can have their positions changed. It's important to know why a person is supporting these policies. Because it helps you understand how you can stop being so stupidly optimistic, Vosh. This is optimistic? Okay. Not trying to tone police, just asking, is it technically more accurate to say most of these people want you dead in the sense they want to live in a world where it's impossible for you to exist? Yeah, but that means they want you dead. That's a distinction without a difference, it's like the white nationalist line, right? We want an America free of the blacks. Okay, well, how are you going to get that? And then they smile at you and they go, well, I don't know. How do you think we're going to do it? I don't care. And if you want a world free of a group of people, as far as I'm concerned, you're putting a target on all their foreheads. You're putting a gold star on their chest. I don't really care. People can hem and haw about that all they want. It's not a distinction I recognize. Get what you're saying, but I think there's a lot of people who naively believe there's a peaceful route to a world where all the gay people magically realize they're actually straight and live happy lives. Whether or not they think there's what peaceful you mean conversion camps? You mean literal camps? This is the manifest of ambiguity. What's happening right now is you're like a cloak has been placed over their eyes, and you're pointing at it, and you're trying to get me to know that there's a cloak there. I know that, but think of, in all of human history, has there ever been a political campaign to eliminate the existence of a minority group, which was carried out successfully, peacefully? Has that ever happened to any group ever in all of human history? Does it ever end that way? It never ends that way, ever. 0% of the time. It can't end that way. It's just not how politics works. We're not trying to, it's not like getting rid of Genshin Impact fans or fucking League players or something. We're not talking about some like brief, cultural like bubble that'll fade with time, hopefully. We're talking about fundamental components of a person's identity. Innate characteristics, or close to innate. We don't really know how this stuff works, fairly innate characteristics that have been a part of humanity for all of our history. Anyone who wants to make it their agenda to get rid of these groups is supporting a genocide. You can wait for them to start building the camps if you want, but I'm going to call it what it is now. Serious question, do you think it'd be hypothetically possible to convince Hitler that he's wrong? Yeah, I think that it's theoretically possible to convince anyone that they're wrong of anything. Theoretically doesn't mean practically possible, though. There are always going to be people whose minds can't be changed. But it's always conceptually possible, yeah. Doesn't always mean it's the most practical way of changing things, though. It's not easy. Is it theoretically possible to convince Vosh that he's wrong? It's never happened before. Don't give the red voters the benefit of the doubt. They want us all dead. I have said this a million times, and I'll say it a million more, okay? You need to know where they're coming from if you want a chance at stopping them. There is a meaningful difference between conservatives who support harmful policies because they think it'll make the world a better place, and conservatives who support harmful policies because they think it'll get rid of the undesirables and thus make the world a better place. There are distinctions there. People who support broken windows policing because they are racist, explicitly or implicitly, are different from people who support it because they have misconceptions or biases. They think it might be more effective, There are people who support, stop and frisk because they think it legitimately reduces crime. They're wrong, but there are people who think that. And those people are farther from wanting you dead than people who like stop and frisk because they like the idea of white cops getting to rough up black hooligans or whatever. There are differences here, meaningful differences. Still harmful policies, the end result's the same. The end result's the same now, but the more moderate conservatives aren't going to move on over to the crazier policies without a little bit of push. They need that push. Why do you think the Republican Party is pushing so much information right now about trans people all being groomers or whatever? Why do they propagandize so hard? They do it because they know that their moderate base is not going to get on board with their final machinations. They need to be cajoled over. They need to be pushed on over. It's a process that can be interrupted.